So the first question that I have is actually for Josh. Is Josh up here yet? There he is. And this is a question that I think everybody here could technically go on for 10 minutes on. So keep in mind, we have 20 minutes, guys, so we cut a little bit into the Q&A. But I just had a question for you, Josh, that I think would be impactful for the group as well. So my question that I have for you basically are, for you both personally and professionally, what are some of the standards that you've set for yourself on a day-to-day basis that have helped you move the needle most in both your personal life and also in your business as well?
Thanks, Bert. So I'll be really quick with this. Just off the top of my head, having a morning routine. So waking up every day consistently. I love to jump in my infrared sauna, listen to a podcast, slam at least a gallon of water a day. I don't slam it a day. I drink it throughout the day, but yeah, I drink at least a gallon of water a day minimum. Most days it's 2 now because I've been doing it for over 10 years. And drinking a green smoothie, which is also half a gallon of liquid every morning for breakfast. And then I think the most important one for my business is just, and this is as simple as it can get, 15 minutes every morning or the night before. So either the end of the day, the night before, or first thing in the morning after my morning routine, just 15 minutes of strategizing for the day. So just looking at this, so a lot of times my day is already scheduled. So just looking at that and setting my intention for the day. What do I really want from today? What makes today a win? Writing those things down or just mapping those things out in my mind. And then if I don't have the whole day planned, then it's sitting down and figuring out like, okay, so what is today going to look like? So when I have white space or when I have a day off, I love planning days off, right? But a lot of people say to me like, hey, I don't want to sacrifice my spontaneity, right? So I say live in planned spontaneity. So map your days off, plan what days are going to be spontaneous, and then don't figure out what you're going to do until that day comes. And when that day comes, then do something you love, do something you're passionate about, but let it be spontaneous. But don't always live in spontaneity, right? Because Matthew Kelly talks about in Off Balance how research shows that 70% of the enjoyment of an experience comes in the anticipation leading up to the experience. So when you only ever live in spontaneity, you're robbing yourself of 70% of the pleasure that you could have from experiencing that experience if you just would have proactively planned it out in advance. So I can tell you, Amy and I spent a month in New Zealand, or 3 weeks in New Zealand in November, and we spent a month on the road in July, checking big travel things off our list. And I can tell you that, for me at least, the vast majority of enjoying those 2 experiences last year came in just the months leading up to it. I would wake up like almost, she probably gets sick of me because I'm like, are you excited about a road trip coming up? She's like, it's 3 months away, Josh. I don't know if I'm excited yet. I'm like, cool, I'm excited, right? So just, give yourself that gift, right? Give yourself that gift and just try it out, see how it works for you. And you might find that it helps.
Awesome. All right, we got Steve on the back. Want to get Brian?
Yeah. Awesome. So since I have a microphone, before I hand it out to Brian, I do have a quick question for Matt Foss. One of my just favorite things about your development as I've watched you grow over the last few years is how you had the courage to ditch that stupid goatee and grow a full beard like the sexy man you are. I just want to know who inspired you to make such an amazing move,
You did, buddy. I love you.
All right, go with Brian.
Wow, that was a topper. My question is for Luke, the short guy in the middle. Luke, when you talk so much about your family and you're just so passionate about Caitlin and your kids, I'm just curious, how do you involve Caitlin in whether it's just the vision, the strategy, or the execution of your business and the decisions that you make?
It's a fantastic question. And we definitely sucked at it for a really long time. And, one of the values of Teach is acknowledge, assess, adjust. And so we had to acknowledge that we sucked. We knew that if we continued sucking, that it would continue to suck. So we had to make some changes, which through the pressure has formed into the fact that we separate our intimate time, our date days, our date nights, etc., from our planning times. That's been a huge deal because our dates would oftentimes become our planning sessions because those were our times together. So we separated those. And so to have balance with both of those and have her be a huge influence, we do a date night in every other week. On the other weeks, we do date night out. This is all, again, to support the structure that we have together. We do an epic date day every 6 months, a exclusive, no one else, nothing else, just us, 4-day trip every year. And we do 2 marriage retreats a year. And those are entire days that are outside of the date days. Those are 2 totally different things where we evaluate the 7 F's and we acknowledge where we want to be 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and so on. And so that's kind of the big picture of what that all looks like. And then we also, every single week on Tuesday mornings this year, have committed to 2 hours of just housekeeping, planning, how are we doing on our goals every single week. So it's a very detailed, oriented plan, but I don't have to think anymore because it's in my schedule. I just have to show up. They're on the document.
Love that. We got one back there for Nick. You got one for Chelsea. Give us the good. Is it working? Make sure you turn it on. Is it on?
It is on.
Oh, it's
It's not working. Oh, it's working. Eureka. Question is sort of for Matt Graves and for Josh. Josh can probably piggyback, but I'd like to hear from Matt first. There's a lot of people in this room that one of their whys in being in Vector is they love the freedom and the flexibility to travel and have this amazing experience and lifestyle. I love to travel. It's one of my top 3 while I'm still here. You travel more than anyone, and I know Josh and Amy go on a lot of trips too. So how do you manage your business in a way that allows you to leave for 2 weeks and come back and still have a sustainable business? Like, what keys would you give this room of being able to do both?
Very good question. So the important thing for me, guys, is to make a, a business plan every single year. I have it done by December prior to the beginning of the year. And so I actually gave a breakout at our end of the year kickoff conference, which was last week. And I talked about this to all of our top level CSPs. But for me, it's really important to have my whole year planned. Like, I want to know my key events, my service events, and I want to know any trips like, SC1, SC2, Conference of Champions, net meeting, like everything I just want to have detailed in my schedule. And so I purposely plan my trips in certain parts of the year where I can either sacrifice some time off work or just make work available around my trip. And so once you actually identify when you're going to go on these trips, you can actually strategically plan for your business to be around that. And so for an example, like if I have the San Diego County Fair and it's like a month-long grind in June, if I want to take a big trip in like July right after, I'll just make sure that I have all my systems in place before I go, but I also have systems in place for when I return, right? So like having automated text messages and emails to set up a service event. So the week I get back, I have like 2 service events filled so I can hit the ground running. And so as an example, when I was gone for 3 weeks in Southeast Asia, I had 2 service events lined up the week I got back. And I was able to sell like $8,000 on 2 service events, and I literally did nothing. Email went out, text message went out, and all of it was done. And so just being really smart with, when you're leaving and when you're coming back. And I always give advice to people to like plan big trips after like a really long work grind. So any push periods or, after a big campaign. So for me, whenever I set up the Southeast Asia trip, I wanted it to be my end of the year reward. And I actually shared it with my goals. So with Fast Action, if anyone does the holiday catalog program, I actually shared in my letter for my customers that my mission was to sell X amount of Cutco in the fall and take my mom to Vietnam for the first time in 35 years. And so when you share that and you're intentional about that plan and that goal, you're working your ass off because you know why you're working so hard to earn that trip. And so when I took that trip, it was like such a rewarding experience because not only was it special just taking my mom back to the home country that she was born in, but it just was something that I was visualizing every single day and working so hard to make that happen in the fall. And then also I made a really cool highlight video that had a message to my customers, and I had my mom included in the video message so that whenever the New Year's came, I sent that video to my customers so they can watch it. And so just little things like that where it makes traveling so much more enjoyable when you have those systems in place and you just plan strategically around it. But yeah, being able to come back and just jump right into service events and, you know, sell $8,000 within a week, it's a beautiful thing. And so as long as you know why you're traveling and when you're traveling, your business should be supported around that with all the systems that we have available nowadays. So
Yeah, great stuff, man. And just to piggyback, I'm just going to block and tackle. So, as in, like, give you like just what to do. So for me, proactive planning, number one, you got to get the plan in place so that you can proactively plan the plan that supports the plan, right? So, right? I mean, think about that. So for me, like, I might not connect with my Cutco business for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. And so, you know, I think it depends. Are you insourcing or outsourcing? Insourcing is you're doing it with your own team, or you're doing it all yourself. Outsourcing is you have a service team, like you have a team that provides a service for you to handle things like that. So I'm always just looking at, okay, so if I'm going out of town, is it a personal vacation or a work trip? If it's a work trip, how can I build work time in around whatever the project is that I'm focused on so that I can continue working? If I'm going to be away from my wife for a week to work, I'm going to be working usually 14 to 16-hour days. I still need my 8 hours of sleep. I still need to eat. But outside that, like, I'm working my butt off to earn the privilege to be at home with my wife when I'm at home with my wife, right? So, you know, I might work 10 hours at a show, but then work 4 more hours before and after that show in order to get other things done too. Autoresponders are great. Anything you can do to automate it is great. A lot of times, I think the biggest thing that stresses people out is when you're off, there's things that consistently come in, right? Because customers still need service. They still have questions, stuff like that, especially the bigger your database, the more people you serve, that's going to happen more often. So I may be out of town for a month. I may receive 100 inquiries from customers asking for service or asking for this or that or whatever. But I don't feel the need to have to respond right away to solve that thing or to take care of that thing. If I'm doing it myself, I'm just making sure that I'm replying and responding to the customer. It's okay to say, hey, just so you know, I'm out of town for a few weeks. Is it okay if I get back to you when I get back? Right? Customers don't care when it's taken care of. All they care is that you let them know you got the message, right? What sucks for customers when they hit you up and say, hey, I want to buy stuff, and then they don't hear back from you. It's just crickets because you're on vacation, right? What's important is that they get that autoresponder saying, hey, I'm out of town. If you need to get a hold of me right away, here's another way to get a hold of me. Or, hey, I'm out of town. Just so you know, I'll be back on this day. I'll make sure you're one of the first people I follow up with, right? So just identify that. And what's great is the further out you plan, the more proactive you can be in setting up the plan that supports the plan happening, right? So, and then the only other thing that I'll share is that if you're outsourcing, if you have a team in place, just get really good at forwarding things. But anticipate ahead of time, what are the things most likely going to still come up while you're not working, and have a plan in place for how you're going to handle those things. Whether it's forwarding it over to your team, letting your team handle it for you, giving them specific instructions and step-by-steps on how to do that, or it's handling it yourself, but just giving your customer a realistic expectation of when it will be handled by replying to them quickly. That's just professional courtesy.
Awesome. All right, we got time for a few more questions. Dave?
So this is mainly for Josh and Amy, but can y'all explain some best practices y'all have for just building expectations for your customers to be clicking on your emails, to follow you on social media, and to be like keeping up with y'all, even the ones that come up to a booth and buy like a replacement table knife that you have no rapport built with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the famous let go is the thing, right? So just make sure if you want your customers to be reading your emails, tell them to read your emails before you let them go from the sales experience, right? If you want your customers to be following you on social media, let them know, hey, just so you know, I'm going to send you an email with all the links to my social media sites. Make sure you go like one of those, whichever one is your favorite, or all 3 of them. I mean, I'm sure Matt is telling his customers all the time, follow me on Insta because my Insta is pretty entertaining. It's pretty awesome. So I don't even know how you make the videos, but they're incredible. So, and I don't even have Instagram. So I'm just watching your Insta through other people. Have you seen Matt Graves' Instagram? Watch. I'm like, holy crap, it's amazing. So, so that's one, right? Just whatever you want them to do, make sure that's part of your instruction statement in the famous let go, right? Remember the famous let go is affirm, instruct, recognize. So in instructing, we're telling them, here's what to expect in terms of how, like, what to hear from me. And then, so here's what you should expect from me moving forward. And then here's how you should, you know, continue to communicate with me if you need something. It's just giving them that clear expectation, right? And that'll train them.
something to keep in mind, I think that's useful, is just anything that you want customers to do, you have to think about what's in it for them and then give them that information. So for example, we started this year for Josh's content emails, which are the same as everybody else's. The only difference is he adds in something about how to get into the drawing. We're doing a drawing every month this year just to see how it goes, just to get more attention. So the thing is, this month it's like, just ask us a question about Cucco or tell us what recipe you might want to see or whatever. It's something so easy, but the whole point is to get them looking at the emails and responding, which helps whitelist you in the email program, so they're more likely to get your emails. We just want to drive responses and attention. So we're starting to do that every month. You're going to expect there's going to be a way to get into the drawing, and then we're going to do a drawing giveaway free Cutco every single month. But that's where I have to go, what's in it for them. If I want them to look at my emails, I can't just be like, hey, look at my emails. I have to be like, look at my emails because you're going to have a way to win free Cutco if you look at my emails, right? Like that kind of stuff. Just keep in mind what's in it for them and let them know that when you're asking them to do something.
Really quick, I just want to honor everybody. Thank you for being really attentive. Like the speakers are feeding off of it right now. Nick, go ahead.
So you guys have talked a lot about good habits and building those, but I was curious as to if there was a time when there was a habit you had trouble kicking and getting rid of, and what you did to drop that bad habit.
Anybody specifically?
Any habit in particular?
Anybody?
Oh, anybody? No, it's open-ended.
So we got a few minutes. We got 5 minutes left. So who do you want to hear from?
I would like to hear from, how about Matt Foss?
Okay.
Cool. So just to clarify, your question is when you've had habits that you want to kick or habits that you want to start incorporating, what did you do to kind of make that happen? So I think one thing for me was definitely getting up early. And getting up, at like before 7 a.m. for me was always a challenge. I think the biggest thing that I did though was starting in court. It started the night before I went to bed was getting up early. It was telling myself literally like 10 minutes before I went to bed and meditating for a little bit and being like, these are the reasons why I'm getting up early. And I also started just doing little mental hacks for myself. Like I used to tell myself every time I wake up in the morning, like give myself the gift of more time in the morning. Because that's really what it was. I realized I really loved taking my time in the morning and not rushing out of the house and stuff. And so that was like a gift of more time to me. So I started telling myself that, and that helped out a lot. So,
does anybody have a question for Steve Spry? Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Steve. Good to see you, man. Thanks for delivering this morning. I'm curious, can you just tell us why you're super passionate about supporting the business gift program and helping everybody sell $40 million in business gifts so Dave can get 2 tattoos this year?
Absolutely. Of course, I could joke around and say I would love to witness Dave getting tatted. That would be so cool. And I know it's going to happen, so I'm hoping to be here next net to see that. Ever since joining Vector in 2003, at the corporate office, again, not having sales field experience, it's hard for me sometimes when I come here to try to imagine the challenges that you guys face in your job, the things that you go through, the sacrifices that you make, but also the awards that you get, the recognition you get, the feeling you get from providing your customer with a level of service and a level of quality in the product, how that makes you feel. Well, it's a similar feeling that we get in corporate. When we can be involved in a program that we know is going to make an impact, not only with the company, but with the reps that we're supporting. And I think working with the reps and not working for the reps is what the difference is for me. I love collaborating and I love hearing ideas. Obviously, we can't take all ideas and implement them all, but the fact that we are listening and the fact that we can work with you to try to find a common goal, that's very rewarding for us, to have that opportunity. Me being here is a hell of an opportunity. I mean, I could very easily just be sitting in my office 365, and then I get emails or I get, wind from somebody else who's been to a conference. Hey, I was at some conference and I spoke to so-and-so and they said it would be a good idea if you did this or whatever. There's nothing like me having the opportunity to be out here with you to hear firsthand what it is you guys are doing and what it is that's on your mind, how I can help. And that's what's rewarding for me. And that's why I'm passionate about, helping with the Realtor program and the business gift program. And I see the possibilities. So.
Love that. Love that. Love that. All right. So we got probably time for maybe 2 quick questions. Okay, last we have 0. Just kidding. Maybe one more. Anybody? Who should we pick? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All right, go ahead, buddy.
My question's for Matt Graves, and my question is: you said that your life will change the day you fully commit to the Cutco opportunity. So my specific question is: what was your specific process that you personally did? When you decided that, or was it like a month-long thing, or was it just little things over time that just added to that one day you just woke up and said, "I'm going to fully just commit to this"?
I love it. Great question. So for me, it was after I branched, and I was really trying to find my place here with Cutco. I was a full-time college student. I think I was a sophomore. And so I was just in a place where I was just tired of being like mediocre. And I was like, you know what? I deserve more. I'm capable of more. And so the first thing I did was I hired Hal Elrod as my coach. So if you don't have a mentor and you're struggling and you're trying to find the next level in this business, I highly recommend seek out somebody that's doing what you want to accomplish or that's already leading by example, and then seek them out as your mentor. And I remember the number one thing he taught me to be more productive and hit my goal for the year was to incorporate Miracle Morning. And so Miracle Morning is literally what changed my life. And I committed fully to his mentorship. I committed fully to my goal for the year, which was I was trying to have my first year selling over 100 grand because I wanted to get the Sword of Eric. And then, obviously I want to win scholarships and stuff like that too. But when I committed fully to that, that's when like really everything started to change for me. So with being a full-time college student and selling at a high level, the only way I could do that with my major, because I had a lot of hours of labs, and I was a kinesiology major, so it was really hard. But I had to get up early, and for me, like getting up before 8 o'clock was really hard at that moment. And so when I started doing Miracle Morning, I fully committed to 4 a.m. And so from 4 a.m. to like 8 o'clock in the morning was literally my commitment to get all my studying and all my homework and all my reading done for school so that I didn't have to sacrifice any of my Cutco goals, phone calls, service calls after school ended at like 2 or 3 o'clock. So that way, I left school with the purpose of just working for the rest of the day, because I had all my school taken care of in the morning. So Miracle Morning is really what helped me be productive in school and not sacrificing my Cutco goals. And from that year, that's where all my growth came. So from that year, which was 2012, I think it was, I've had a quantum leap in growth every single year since then, just implementing those same practices. So.
All right, let's give one more big round of applause to our speakers real quick.